I was recently in a big city, and it made me think, as big cities probably make everyone think, of Martin Buber's I and Thou. And don't you think about that all the time when you're in a big city? Um, because in his book, I and Thou, he talks about how there's two fundamental types of relationships, I, you, and I, it. And I, you is the world of relationship. And I, it is what he calls the world of experience. That's where you don't perceive the other as an actual being, but as just backdrop, really. And he talks about how if you're always in the world of I, it, it really is the world of exploitation. This other is an object you can exploit. But he's not saying you want to always be in the world of I, you, because as he says, you will just existentially burn up. Because when you go to the grocery store, you can't spend all your time thinking every single person here is an individual with hobbies. This person is heartbroken. This person's happy. This person has hemorrhoids. This person has bunions. You can't do that. And in a big city, it's even more difficult because there's just bazillions of people, because that's not even to mention the non-humans, either in a city or not in a city. You can't be thinking about every fly having its own happiness and sorrow at every moment. You just, at some point, you wave it away from your face. And anyway, so in this city, one of the things that I always think about in cities is, this person has a life. This person has a life. And to them, I'm just background. I'm just the person, the extra character walking by in the background of the main shot. And so that already sort of existentially, I find, it kind of blows me away that everybody has their own subjective existence. But the other thing that blows me away is that every one of those people who has their own subjective existence, that is their one and only existence. So you can see a person who is like Mexican American, and that person will be Mexican American for his whole life. And you see, yesterday when I was in a big city, I saw a woman that, if I was a high jumper, so I noticed these things. She looked very athletic, and she had sort of long legs. And I was thinking, if I was a high jump scout, I would, and maybe she's not athletic, but it's like she has a body that would be good for high jumping. She's long legs and slender and looks kind of athletic. And that's her body for her entire life. And there was, somebody else with a different body type, and that's your body for your whole life. And there were, it just, and the same is true for non-humans. This is her body for her whole life. We have one, so far as we know, we have one shot at a life. And I have this one body. I was born a person with dark hair, and I was born a person who ended up 6 feet tall. And somebody else is a person who was born who ends up 6 feet 4, and somebody else is born 5'6". That's your life. And just I know I'm not making a particularly profound point, but we forget too often that, to go to a poker analogy, we were dealt a hand, and you get dealt one hand in your life, and that's the hand you're dealt, and then you play it. And it's the hand I was dealt includes Crohn's disease, and that's okay. I'm not complaining. It wouldn't do any good if I did, which is the point. That's the whole point of this thing, is that you get one life, and we all have these magnificent and crappy lives, with parts of our hands are magnificent, parts of them are crappy. And I am confronted with that every time there's just this huge symphony of different people. And of course, I'm confronted with that every time I go into a forest too. There's a little tree not very far from where I'm sitting right now that got knocked over by a bear, and it's still growing, but instead of growing up, it's knocked to about 20 degrees from surface. And, you know, that's the one life it got. And maybe when I turn this off, I'll go stake it up. But I think we get lost in a lot of philosophical and existential details when I just think it's magnificent that, you know, there's a really big dog right there and a smaller dog right there, and then a small cat, and then there's an even tinier dog somewhere else. And that's your life. Deal with it.